Hey boys and girls, it is Mr. McAndrew, the math coach. I apologize for not being on the video, but I didn't really know where to fit myself. I have so much going on the screen right now, so you'll just have to listen to my voice. And so anyways, what I want to show you today, and to get you to have some practice with, is like what happens when you have a number. Okay, so we have a number like 135, right? Like, so we have 135, right? 135. Okay. So what happens when we just add like 100 or a couple hundred or subtract it? And how can we represent that on a number line? Okay. So for example, if I were to add 100, I'm just going to put 100 on here. All right. Okay, so you'll notice how much do we have, what is that number now? We did have 135, we added 100, now we have how much? We have 200, we still have the same number of tens and the same number of ones, but now we have, erase that one, we have 235. Okay, so the 3 and the 5 stayed the same, it just went up by 100. Because this is the hundreds place. All right, what if I add another 100? Oh, sorry, before I do that, okay, I want to show you on this number line. This is called an open number line, all right? Just because I just drew it real quick, there's no numbers on it. I can use it however I want, all right? And I had 135, okay, and I added 100. So I can say that if I jump 100, I end up at 235. Okay, and you can see that in the hundreds place, it just turned from a 1 to a 2. The tens and ones place stayed the same. All right, so if I add another 100, I know it's a little bit hard to see. Okay, so I just added another 100. Now I have 335. Okay, so over here, if I were to add another 100, I would end up at 335. Now again, notice that there's still 3 tens and 5 ones. The only thing that changed, right, still 3 tens and 5 ones. The only thing that changed was the hundreds place. It went up by 1 because we added 100. Okay? So let's take a look at that again. All right, so we're back at 135. What if I were to add, I don't know, 300? Okay, so I'm going to add 100, 200, 300. Okay, so now I have how many? Now I didn't do anything to the tens place or the ones place, right? So how many hundreds do I have? Well, I have the one that I started with, plus 3 more gives me 4 hundreds, right? That makes sense. So 135 plus 300 would give me 435. Okay, so only the hundreds place changes. Now on the number line, and to draw it, I just do a little arrow, draw a line, another arrow, right? Easy peasy. I would start at 135. And if I jump up 400, okay, then I know I've only added, just like I just did here, I've only added to the hundreds place. So that gets me to not 400, sorry boys and girls, 300. Okay, so 135, if I add the 300, I'm only going to change the hundreds place. So that gets me to 435. The 35 stays the same. Just the hundreds place changes. Okay? All right, this is going to be helpful to you when we do our word problem today. All right? Let's do one subtraction and then we'll move on to that. All right, so boys and girls, look at what we have here, okay? We have 135 plus 300 gives me 435. So the difference between these two numbers is 300. Okay? The difference or the distance between them. So we can also think of that, as addition. 135 plus 300 is 435. Or we could jump backwards from 435 to 135. Now the distance is the same. We just jumped backwards. So 435, all right, 435, subtract 300 equals 135. Okay, because all you're doing, the 35 stays the same. All you're doing is taking away from the hundreds place again. So the 4 becomes a 1, and the 35 stays the same. All right, let's do one more quick subtraction, then we'll get to the word problem. All right, so boys and girls, I have 335. I still have 35. That has not changed. And what if I were to subtract 200? Okay, so if I take away 200s, take away 100, 200, how many hundreds am I left with? Just 100, right? I still have 3 10s and 5 1s. It has not changed. Has not changed. Okay, so that just gives me 135. And if I represent that on a number line, I could say, well, I'm going to start over here because we're subtracting. I'm starting at 335. I'm jumping back 200. And I know I'm just looking at the hundreds place. So that should get me to 135. The same as we have up here. Okay? All right. So let's move on to your word. So take out your word problem. There's 2 word problems, so let's take that out. I'll show you what it looks like. All right, boys and girls. So here is your word problem we're going to work on together today. It's called Monday's word problem number 1, length. Okay, so we're going to be talking about length today. You're going to need, for that first question, it says, how tall are you in inches? You're going to need your tape measure. Okay, it looks like this. These are the inches. All right, it looks, starting at the beginning, it looks like this. If you flip it, these are the centimeters. We're not doing centimeters, which are much smaller. That's the metric system. We're doing centimeters. So what you want to do is either in your socks or bare feet, stand against a wall, okay? And put like something flat, like a ruler is perfect, at the top of your head. Somebody to help you would be the best. Okay, so have somebody put the ruler flat on top of your head and mark in pencil, not pen, or even better, a finger, on the wall where your height is. And then use this to measure. Okay, so most of you, I'm going to guess, are somewhere between 48, okay, and 60 inches. If you are particularly tall, I don't think anyone's going to be more than 60 inches. You would have to then go to the beginning again, but I don't think that's going to happen. Okay, so that'll be kind of fun, right? Figure out how many inches you are. And then we can compare that to this word problem, which is about Andre the Giant. So let's take a look at that. All right, so if anybody out there, if you like wrestling, like professional wrestling, Andre the Giant was a famous wrestler from back in the, I want to say like the 80s. He also was in some movies. And anyways, I'm just making stuff up here. So let's pretend like there's a kid named Andre the Giant who's your age, and he's 245 inches tall. All right, you'll see compared to you and how tall you are, that's really tall. Okay, so the question is, how tall is Andre's sister if she is 100 inches taller? All right, so I want you to try and figure that out now. You can use the number line here if you want, or there's space at the bottom for you to do it any way you want. But what would you think? How tall do you think Andre's sister is? Actually, boys and girls, let me tell you this. You may already know the answer, or you may want to use the space down here, but try using the number line. All right, I know some of you don't prefer it, but some of you might really like it. So I do want you to try the number line. And when you're done with it, then come on back and I'll show you what it looks like, okay? So stop the video now, all right? Do your work, and then come on back when you're done. All right, I'll see you in a minute. All right, boys and girls, so you should have tried that out. So let's see, this is how I would do it. I would put 245. Okay, and it says Andre's sister is 100 inches taller. So go up 100. And that would give me, that should give me 345, because only the hundreds place, like we've been looking at, would go up, right? The 45 would stay the same, okay? So that would be my answer, is 345 inches. You can put IN period for short, okay? All right, let's look at the next question. It says, if Andre's father is, 545 inches tall, then how much taller is he than the giant? Than Andre, I should say Andre the giant. Well, that's a good question. Okay, so let's think about this. Andre's father is 545 inches tall. How much taller is he? All right, so I'm going to show you how I would set this up instead of having you just dive in, okay? So what we're really looking at here, boys and girls, you could think of it either as addition or subtraction, because it's one of those problems where we're comparing two things, right? So we're comparing Andre. Okay, here's Andre. And he, from the floor to the top of his head, is what, 245 inches? Okay. And then his father is much taller. Okay, so from the top of his head down here is 545. Okay, so we're comparing the height, this big giant, the dad giant's height, to the kid giant's height. We're comparing those, and we're trying to figure out what's the difference. How much taller is he? So from here to here, right, is how much. Okay, that's kind of like what we're trying to figure out. All right. So if we look at our number line, we could start by putting down, well, we know Andre's 245, okay? And we know his dad is 545. So we're trying to find the distance in between. What's the difference? How much taller is he? So we could start at 245 and jump up. We could go, well, plus 100 gives me 345, 445, and then 545, if we add 100 each time. Okay? Or we may just be able to jump 300. We can say, oh, I can see that between here and here, I can jump all the way plus 300. Because it's not that hard, because the tens and ones place don't change. It's just the hundreds place. Okay? Or we could have thought of it as a subtraction problem. Right, so in this situation, we thought of it as 245 plus what equals 545. Or we could have thought of it as 545 minus 245 equals what? So in here, we're thinking of the difference. So we could jump back 300 and see that the difference is 300. Okay, in either situation, the answer is 300. Okay, so our answer is 300 inches. All right, so you have one more word problem to work on that I am not going to help you with. Okay, I want you to take what I've just done and see if you can use it to answer these questions. It's very similar to the ones that we just did. The first question is, how long is your bed? All right, so that means from like if this is your bed, right? Dun, dun, dun. How long is it from here all the way to here? So it's almost like how long is it? Probably a little bit longer than you. All right, and then there's some questions about Amy the giant. All right, so good luck. Okay, do a good job, and I'll see you in the next video. All right, bye-bye.